It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, my friends, I'm taking you on a tour today, a great tour. For those of you who live in the Greater Hazleton area, you may remember a lot of what you're going to see today, but there are many people in the Pottsville area, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area that are going to also enjoy this show. Where am I? I'm at the Greater Hazleton Historical Society, 55 North Wyoming Street in Hazleton. We're going to put the number on the screen, folks. There's a reason for that. It's 570-455-8576. Now, taking a mini tour today, just give you a taste of what's here. It is absolutely fabulous. You can spend a lot of time and it's enjoyable. My guest today is Charles McElwee. He is the vice president of the Historical Society. Well, Charles, many of the things I've seen, it brings back great memories. But for the sake of the viewing audience, the history of this place.
So this place goes back to the early 1980s. You come in here and you're overwhelmed by just all the artifacts are in just one location. We needed a place to house it. So the Greater Hazleton Historical Society was formed in the early 80s, and the Pioneer Firehouse, which is where what occupied this building, was available. So that's where the museum was created. So this is a 3-story building dating back to the 80s. The building itself goes back to 1924, and this site was actually once City Hall, and before that, Borough Hall. So a lot of history occurred at this one location. But we arguably have the largest collection of artifacts in northeastern Pennsylvania. We're very proud of that. And if you come here, you will see everything ranging from theater history to large signs like the Knotty Pine sign of the institution, to just understanding how this city, Hazleton, was a center of innovation, technological advancements in the 19th century, and really a microcosm of all the subsequent trends that drove the United States.
Well, you mentioned the Knotty Pine sign, okay? It's the original sign, plus a preserved booth with original menus. Tell me a little bit about that.
So the Knotty Pines, an institution that was on 309, just north of the city. That was a very special place to my family. We went there all the time. But Knotty Pines goes back to 1937. After World War II, it was the spot. And people would dance there, the jukebox. It was basically everything you see in those movies like Diner or American Graffiti. That was the Knotty Pines. And when the Knotty Pines unfortunately closed in 2010, they did demolish a building, and Tom Gabos, our president, secured a lot of the artifacts. So one of them, they're the 8 wonders of the world. Well, one of the 8 wonders of this museum is how we got the Knotty Pine sign in here. It was huge.
Yeah, and it is huge. We're standing right by. How did you get it in?
I have no idea, but Tom pulled it off. So perhaps it's because this was a fire station, so we do have the windows to get it in. But it's the first thing you see when you walk into the museum. You can't miss it. It's overwhelming. But look, food is part of Hazleton's culture and history. I think this area is unparalleled when it comes to Italian eateries or pizza. This is a unique cuisine here. Yeah. And we wanted to showcase some of that by the Knotty Pines artifacts, including the booth where you can sit, open the menu, and basically recreate or at least reminisce how you felt, or maybe memories will come back when you sit there.
The location we're at here, folks, is 55 North Wyoming Street. He's talking about pizza. When you come here, okay, you got to go right next door to Frankie's Pizza. You're going to taste pizza that's unbelievable. It's fantastic. It's right next door. I wanted to throw that in because I love their pizza. It's fantastic. Now you have the theater history, okay? And of course, my good friend, I worked with him for 32 years, Jack Palance. It's interesting to me because the things I'm seeing. We were in Hollywood. We did a lot of taping all over Honolulu, Hawaii, New York City, all those great places I spent with Jack, my wife, and his wife. Tell me about some of the things about the Hazleton theater history.
Well, look, Hazleton was a cosmopolitan city, and it also happened to be because of our location, not that far from New York City. So in the 20s and 30s, during that vaudeville era, and then the talkies that preceded it, you had a railroad station in downtown Hazleton that was a train ride away from New York. So that brought in actors to perform at the theaters. Downtown at one point had about 8 movie theaters. And Jack Palance, of course, was one of the products of that era, who went on to win an Oscar in 1992 for City Slickers. And personal to my life, my brother is named Shane, and he was named after the movie.
Is that right?
Yes, named after Alan Ladd.
I have to tell that to Elaine. That's fantastic.
Yes, so he was named after that movie. My father loved it. And of course, the villain in that movie was Jack Wilson, played by Jack Palance. Yes. So, but even, I mean, the first Oscar in 1929 for Best Director went to Frank Borzage, who was the son of Tyrolean immigrants who came to Hazleton. So there's always, there's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. There's always 6 degrees of Hazleton. Yeah. And really, when you come in here, you see all the theaters that were here, from the Feely on North Wyoming Street that was across the street from the museum, built of 1,000,000 bricks. The Capitol Theater on Broad Street, which seated up to 2,000 people. These were institutions, and they were democratic venues in many ways too, because it was anyone from an immigrant worker to a doctor to a children. They all congregated in one spot to experience the motion picture, and Hazleton was at the forefront of that.
The story goes, Jack had told me many years ago when Milton Berle was here, he saw a sign in the back before he went out to perform, "If you think you're good, come to Hazleton." You know what I mean?
Right. No, I mean, I never forgot. There's an individual who works at the Pines, and he told me a story. He was in New York in the 70s, and he was by Times Square, and there was this painted billboard that said, "For a good time, come to Hazleton, Pennsylvania." So really, this was a destination for vaudeville and entertainment if you're looking to escape the city.
Now, of course, I went to Hazleton High School, and I see here we have Hazleton area's school history with artifacts from former schools, Greeby, West Hazleton, etc. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Hazleton was a city of schools as well. So we had Greeby, we had Harmon, and then of course we had the Castle on the Hill. Hazleton High School, built in 1924, the first high school in Pennsylvania that cost over $1 million. So it's this architectural majesty at the top of Wyoming Street. And really, I mean, in the early 20th century, secondary education became more important, and we certainly saw that with the people who grew up in the city, went through the educational system and came out of it. They were special places, and if you come to our library, you'll see all the yearbooks. You'll learn about just how innovative our education was in this city. But of course, the castle, we played a critical role in that. I mean, that was slated for demolition by the late 90s. And Tom Gabos, our president, he led the initiative to save that building.
I remember it well.
So we saved it from the wrecking ball, and now it's back as a school. So we're happy to see that that was preserved. But for the buildings that did not make it, we have artifacts from Greeby, which I'm told was a magnificent building inside, the friezes, the artwork. So we have that here, and it's worth checking out.
Folks, I'm talking to Charles McElwee. I'm here at the Greater Hazleton Historical Museum. It's at 55 North Wyoming Street. Now, the phone number is on the screen, 570-455-8576. Why do I put the number on? Because you need a call to get a tour. This way you know they're open. They're not open all the time, but you'll be able to have a good session here. It's interesting. We have a lot more to show you and talk about right after this break. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. I'm on location here at the Greater Hazleton Historical Society. But before we get to speak to Charles McElwee, who is going to tell us a little bit more about this place, 24/7, you can watch all of our local programming. We produce about 22 of them. All neighborhood showing. That's why I tell you to download our app. Just search SSP TV, download the app. You can watch all of our shows. Thank you to all those people who are writing to me and calling me from the different parts of the state. I got a call from Utah the other day, a lady who was born and raised in Hazleton, another person who was born and raised in the Scranton area, who said they really enjoy looking at all the local shows. Of course, SSPTV.com, we show all of them. If you don't have cable, which you should, download YouTube. Search SSP TV, watch all of our programs, and they're also translated in Spanish. Okay, Charles McElwee is the Vice President of the Historical Society here. Charles, now, there's how many floors here?
3.
Okay, it says in the basement you have featuring region's military history with rifles dating to the Revolutionary War.
That's right. So we have an overwhelming amount of military history here, housed in the basement, rifles going back to the Revolutionary War, and we even have a rifle from the Sugarloaf Massacre. So the Sugarloaf Massacre occurred in the Cunningham Valley in 1780. It was a skirmish during the Revolutionary War, pitting Native American and Loyalists against a militia that was in the valley. Long story short, it didn't go so well, and it became the first significant historical event really to occur in what became Luzerne County. People forget, at one point, Luzerne County was technically part of Connecticut, which is a whole story unto itself, but you can read about that story
Part
here.
of Connecticut?
Part of Connecticut. So Luzerne County
The
was
state of Connecticut.
The state of Connecticut. So
Luzerne County was a part of the state of Connecticut.
yes, perhaps
Wow.
that answers to why Cunningham has that New England flavor. You know,
Is that right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's such a beautiful town, but but that's the background there. But if you come here, I mean, the military service is such a critical component of this city's history. We have a banner displaying St. Gabriel's Catholic War veterans, which my grandfather started after World War II. We have, you name it. I mean, there's an interesting display as well, Native American artifacts on the third floor, fossils and arrowheads that a guy named Chris Wilhelm found all throughout the area on his hikes. And I came to learn that Chris Wilhelm actually, he was the first occupant of what became my grandparents' house on South Laurel Street. So he would display these arrowheads in the bookshelves. And my father remembers trick-or-treating over Halloween. He'd knock on that door and he would see these arrowheads, and then fast forward decades and here they are at the museum. Yeah. So everybody finds some type of special connection when they come into this building.
Yeah. As I was walking through with you before the show, I'm seeing Dr. Falvello, the dentist, his office, and different artifacts, and it brings back a lot of memories, you know. And folks, we're just touching on little things. You should see all the stuff that's here. It's fantastic. And of course, I said to you before, whether you're in Pottsville or Wilkes-Barre or Scranton, you all remember Angela Park. In fact, we have a DVD you should get, a documentary we did on Angela Park, and you can just go to our website, ssptv.com, and you should get that DVD. However, they have Angela Park displayed here, right?
Yes, we do, on the third floor. So Angela Park, an institution.
Tell me you don't have the sign.
We don't have the sign.
Okay.
We lucked out with the Nine Pines sign, but we can only fit so many.
That would have been fabulous.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
so,
that was huge.
That was huge.
Yeah.
Competitive with the Pines.
Yeah.
But Park was operated by the Barletta family going back to 1957, operated till 88. I'm told they had the best pizza around.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Yes. But we do have a display on the third floor. You'll see various artifacts from the park, so that will bring back memories.
Yeah.
You can't
well,
help.
I don't know if you saw the DVD, the documentary.
It was fabulous, yes.
But in that DVD shows the park, it shows the pool, it shows all the different things, and everyone can relate to that, okay? The purpose of this place, okay, I mean, it's a stupid question, but why would it be interesting for people to come young and old?
Because you can't understand trends or how the future community can unfold unless you understand its history. So you come here and we hope that you're inspired. Some people will be overwhelmed by nostalgia, and the nostalgia can be deceptive. I mean, what we thought happened may not have been the case. It becomes illusory. But if you visit this museum, I hope that it's a portal of inspiration, that it helps you understand the important role that the city of Hazleton played on the East Coast and in the United States. I mean, in the mid-19th century, Hazleton, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Pottsville, they were America's equivalent of today when you think of Silicon Valley, with Menlo Park, Cupertino, San Jose. Though this was the center of technological innovation. After all, this city was the third community in the country to have a full electric scale grid in the late 19th century. So you just learn what an important role this place played, and I don't want people to forget that.
Well, I'll tell you, as we're talking, we're showing a lot of stuff that's here. Now, you have displays honoring, showcasing closed churches, including Our Lady of Mount Carmel. I'm looking at the baptismal font here from St. Anne's Church in Freeland. Tell me more about that.
So we do have a display on the third floor showcasing all the churches of the Greater Hazleton area, and as we all know, there were so many churches here. So, I mean, just within the city limits, at one point there were nearly 30 churches, and they were typically ethnically divided. I mean, there were 3 Italian parishes, 2 Irish. I mean, it all depends. But you had St. Joseph's, the first Slovak Catholic church,
Yes.
the Western Hemisphere. Our Lady Mount Carmel, the only Tyrolean Catholic church in America, St. Gabriel's, which was modeled on St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan. I mean, when you walk into some of these churches, just recently I walked into Christ Lutheran Church for the first time on Church Street, and it's just overwhelming when you see the architectural majesty of these structures. And it's a testament to the investment that was made in the city for our various ethnic communities.
You know, and and history is so important, as we all know. It's something that you learn, and it gives you a sense of sometimes responsibility to your community, a growing process, but it's something that I think young people should really look into. When I say young, I mean, you know, grade school, high school, college students, learning about the history and what it means where we are today. Wouldn't you think so?
You're absolutely right, and a declining sense of history seems to be a societal epidemic because people don't read anymore. We're just lost in these pixelated screens, passively scrolling, looking at photos. And look, the museum takes advantage of that too. We do have a Facebook page. We do try to promote our museum through social media, but at the same time, you need to read and understand and visit historic places to, like I said, get inspiration, but also have a keener sense of what this community is and the role it once played, and understand where it may go.
Now, the phone number we're putting on the screen is because we want people to call to make an appointment, okay? Because you're not open here all the time, right?
That's right.
Okay. I don't want you coming here at 11 o'clock during the day or 3 in the afternoon and no one's here, folks. It's 55 North Wyoming Street. So they should call the number or go to go to your website. What was the, you know, your family? I know your family got many, many years. Your grandfather, of course, was one of my best friends. What was the thing that impressed when you came here for the first time, Charlie? Because you have a lot of knowledge of history, okay? It impresses me, even when you're on our show and you're talking about what was the first thing that you were really impressed with?
That's a great question. So let's pan back to 2011. So before, I had a pre-existing appreciation for Hazleton's history. Despite growing up in Hershey, my parents were from the area, and my father imparted his passion for this region's history onto me. And just hearing those stories growing up, they were inspiring. So it was a rainy day in 2011, and despite studying Hazleton as part of my college thesis, despite the articles I wrote for the Standard Speaker, I had yet to visit this museum. So back in October 2011, my father and I were passing this place, and they just happened to have had an open house. So we walk in just as they're closing. We meet Tom Gables and my dear friend Annie Vintieri, who was involved in the museum. And I was just overwhelmed by the entire place. And I realized that everything I studied, all that knowledge imparted into me, happened to be housed in one location. So that just inspired me to get involved with this place and ultimately join the board of directors, try to market this place, fundraise, and spearhead events like walking tours of downtown or neighborhoods or revitalization projects. I want this institution to make an impact on its community, and it's worked.
It certainly has. You know, folks, we talk about a lot of negative things, you know, and yes, they exist. However, when you look at the negative things and you look at the positive things, you have this Hazleton Historical Museum that just shines with so much positive knowledge, and it's good stuff. And that's what we should be talking a lot more about, the positive things we have, not the negative things. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. 24/7 SSP TV. Download our app. 22 shows we produce, all local neighborhood programming. I'm here at the Greater Hazleton Historical Museum with Charles McElwee, who is the vice president. Phone number is on the screen. The address is on the screen. I'm telling you, folks, you should come here, but please call before you come here. Charles, once again, people just maybe perusing through the channel, and I'm showing this on all the systems. Pottsville, folks, what channel? 190, 92 in Wilkes-Barre, Kingston and Mountaintop, and 190 in the Lackawanna County. The story about Historical Museum again. How did this come about?
This goes back to the early 1980s. There was an initiative to somehow showcase all the artifacts that shaped the city's history and the region, and Jean Gormley was involved. She spearheaded this. We opened the museum in the old Pioneer Firehouse on North Wyoming Street. And as a result, we just continue to take in artifacts that have created this whole experience to understand the Greater Hazleton area's history.
How far do you go back in with these artifacts?
I would say we go back to the late 1700s when you count in the militia history, the Revolutionary War, and really up until the 80s. I mean, really, when you come in here, it seems to parallel America's position at one point in this country. Typically, a lot of people say between the 1870s, like right out of the Civil War up until the 1970s, America had this unparalleled period of economic growth, innovation, technological advancements, and productivity that we never really saw before and have yet to even surpass despite the technological advancements of today. Hazleton was part of that. And as a result, Hazleton happened to be at the forefront in so many innovations from the coal mining industry to engineering and electricity during that period of time.
Now, folks, there's an interesting thing here, too. Sometimes you may go to your attic or you may go to your garage you're not using. You start taking things off and you find things that are really nice things, artifacts. Would the Historical Society be interested in those things?
Yes, we do accept artifacts, but the biggest thing at this point is accepting donations because we're not, despite how beautiful this place is, we aren't in the most pristine financial position. So we are encouraging donations to keep this place going.
And you could donate right on the website. You know, the information's there, folks. It's just a good feeling. I know we're showing a lot of stuff here, but we have former stores in Hazleton. As I was going through, I saw Maxie's Men's Shop, I saw Frumpkin Brothers, and you know, I see a lot of the stores that were here. Hazel Drug, the old sign, it's Hazel Drug still here,
right.
But I mean, it was a lot of memorabilia.
Yes, so many institutions in downtown Hazleton, and like any community, was shaped by its department stores. They were experiences. You walked in and had the different departments within the store, the floor managers, the staff.
Do you remember them?
I don't remember, but...
You don't remember the leader, Dice Roads, Greco Drugs, you know?
They were closed by the time I was born.
Is that right?
Yeah, Dice Roads was open for a little bit, but that was it. But I mean, they were open at Dice Roads, yes, corner of Broad and Laurel, and as well as the Leader Store, which was opened by Louis Roman in the early 1900s. Yeah. He was a Russian Jewish immigrant who came here, self-made man, started the store at the corner of Broad and Laurel, and it was an institution. Yeah,
well, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was in downtown Hazleton. Again, you remember I opened my Johnny Morado and I opened our music store here up at the street, 84 North Wyoming Street. Wednesday nights and Friday nights, I mean, it was jammed. Cars all over the place. I mean, it was like cops. I mean, it was just to control the traffic. It was unbelievable. Downtown was really, you know, thriving at the time. And when I see all the artifacts here, I say, I remember this, I remember that, you know. So
right, it's a sensory experience. I mean, you can almost hear how downtown was.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, and you still have some of those structures in downtown Hazleton that allow you to see. I mean, for example, Can-Do is currently renovating what was the Frumpkin Brothers building.
Yes.
And I walked in there last year, and you see the haberdashery shelves that go back to the 1870s that the Frumpkin Brothers operated. So there's a lot to see a lot that was preserved, but unfortunately too much that wasn't.
Well, thanks for inviting me for coming down here.
Thank you for coming here.
Folks, they always could use donations, whatever you do to help them, but most importantly, come down and visit. It's a fantastic place. It's 55 North Wyoming Street. The phone number's on the screen. Charles McElwee is the vice president. Tom Gabos, hats off to him. He does a great job here in maintaining great history for entire northeastern Pennsylvania. We'll see you next time.